Good afternoon, Miss Oreoluwani. I hope you are doing very fine.
Good afternoon. I want to check this audio thing, by the way. Sorry, the video thing. Kindly hold on. Oh, it's just my head, so I don't even need to wear wig. I know it's it's not just my head though. It's my entire body. Whatever. Whatever.
God, I beg.
Are you okay?
God, I beg. Somebody is hot.
What mountain is this one?
Somebody is hot.
Are you
Oh, so
okay?
now what you say, man, it's time. Actually, they say, wetin inspired this? Now, so you dey eager to talk to your students today.
I want to know if I should wear wig or not now. I'm
Let me,
trying
let
to
me, let
be.
me, let me see, let me see again. Let me see again. Let me see
Wait,
again.
wait, I'm not showing you anything. I'm going to
No,
wear wig.
now, no, now. I'm not even whining. I'm serious.
And that's what I'm saying. I've seen myself. I will wear wig. I will go and wear wig now. Even wear normal shirts, so that it's not me that they'll be telling. You
You
can
don't
see your
recognize
nightwear.
for essay. Oh,
Let me
I thought
see.
it was going to be Miss. Okay, maybe Miss Edith is busy, Sha.
No, she's not the one.
Eh. Ah, Jay, yeah, I agree. If Miss Edith did not, the last one, you didn't, your face did not appear now.
Oh,
Oh yeah, just in case. Okay, I understand.
no, I'm the one taking this one.
Oh yeah, the one, that's what, wow, wow. I can't wait. I'm excited. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me let you go do your thing. We'll just
Yeah, I've
later.
left you there, so
Oh wait, I've not made you co-host to Chimu. The blood.
please hurry.
Okay, would you invite the speaker now? So that
Yes.
the
Let
person
me
that
tell.
can so just join now. All right. No, no, another speaker they use the gist too much. Bye bye. My
Let me have
lead.
all my flyers. Oh,
I will send it to you soon. I'm actually working on it now. No worry. I did not forget
okay.
you. Now.
All right, bye. I wasn't. What are we going to do? I'm just saying it's not working. That's what you should have done yesterday instead of I'm just getting not working. Just like it to be as in no by doing something. And I know what to people. Because now it's telling me I can't retake. I already exceeded the amount of it. So if this eventually happens to anyone, it means that they can't retake it anymore. It's too risky. Me, I don't know if I want to take that risk. Now, 4 times. What do I do this good thing? What do you want from me? You should not greet me.
My dear, don't go and forget that you have not muted yourself. Oh. Before you leave your what's it called, your laptop to go and do something else, they will hear rocks happening at your background.
Get out. Let me mute.
Ah! But at the same time, no, I kind of was enjoying your voice, so you can unmute back. Oh.
You
Just
are
keep
I
in
was
mind.
you. Be like say no one collect final salary, Abi.
No, now you see now, see, you don't turn out to trend. But see, they use small small, they follow you talk. You go, come on, God. Why you like AK-47 like this?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Okay.
Don't be violent always. Ore,
Mm.
ore. Person go see you for LinkedIn now. To say, look at this gentlewoman. So posh,
Am I
so
not
see the way
am I
she
not
holds chair.
gentle?
You hold chair, you look all right, all, gentle and all. They don't know saying na violence dey your mind.
Am I not now gentle?
Ah, ah,
Have
ah.
you made me co-host now?
Yeah, you are now. You've been close for a while now.
All right. Great. I don't remember what I
So
was talking about.
we are good to go. Let me see. Precious will not like to join. Let me make a call.
I think she's currently having onboarding in the office.
Okay. That's fine. Let me see. Oh, this is interesting. Abisola. Oh, Abisola Jeju then. Wait, oh. I'm there unmuted, Sha. Peace. Bye bye.
Good morning, Miss Dede.
Good morning. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. My name is Oro Luani. I work with Ofei in Nigeria. It's a pleasure to meet with you.
Good to meet you too. But what can I call you? I'm sure you've got a shortened version of your name.
All right, it's fine.
All right. Okay. Good.
Okay, that's short enough, Abby. All right.
Yes. That works.
All right, it's fine. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this with us. And I'll be sharing the slides as Matilda already mentioned to me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
once
Thank
it's
you.
time, you're welcome.
All right.
Okay, good morning. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. My name is Oroluwani, and I want to say good morning, good afternoon if you're here in Nigeria. Good morning if you're joining us from Ghana. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is the 4th episode of our webinar series, and we are going to be diving right into it. So this morning, we are going to be looking at, or I should ask, what today's topic is. We're going to be looking at recruitment. So the first week we looked at HR vocabulary. We looked at simple we looked at key terms that every HR person should know. Whether you're an HR expert, whether you're transitioning into HR, whether you're an HR intern, you should know some particular vocabularies. And after that, we looked at employee engagement, how to motivate your employees. And we emphasized that it's not just about throwing parties, it's also being concerned for the well-being of the employee with regards to their career development. And we also looked at what sustainable employability, how to ensure that you're able to sustain the employability of your staff members, of your workforce. Let's put it that way. So today we're looking at recruitment. And recruitment is one, if I'm correct, and I hope I'm not the only one that thinks so. But recruitment for me is one of the toughest part of being an HR professional. I hope that some of us will agree with me. It's really not easy to do recruitment. For me, if I'm told to do some sort of recruitment, I'm always looking at it like, oh, sorry, I think my video is off. Okay, so I'm always thinking, how exactly am I going to do this particular recruitment? Or it's not very easy. Then I still came across a post today where someone was saying he recruited someone and 3 days later the person decided to resign. It just means that 2 weeks of hard work has gone just like that, and you have to restart the process. So recruitment is a very key component for every HR professional, and that's what we're looking at today. And we are very honored to have Miss Dede Ofei, who is going to be taking our session today. So Miss Dede is a seasoned senior HR professional with over 20 years of experience. Okay, she has been driving transformative HR strategies across multinational organizations and startups. She's currently the head human resources at Jumia, that's in Ghana, and the group learning and development lead for Jumia Group. She has successfully led complex HR integration projects, optimized talent management systems, and spearheaded performance management overhauls. Our extensive expertise, combined with a passion for empowering teams and nurturing emerging HR talents, makes her an inspiring mentor dedicated to guiding the next generation of professionals. So before we welcome Ms. Dede on the call, or before we have her, I want us to go to the chat room, and I want us to tell us which session has been let's say of the 3 sessions that we have had, right? I want us to tell us which one we have enjoyed the most and what we have enjoyed about it the most. So, we have a couple of people on the call already, so it means that we can type. So, yes, just tell me which one we have enjoyed the most, which particular course it is that you looked at and you're like, oh, okay, I actually liked this one. This one was really nice. Or I remember what the speaker said with regards to this. I got a lot of, what's that thing called now? I got a lot of reviews from last week's session. Yes, I got a lot of review. People were saying that, oh, the speaker was really engaging, that she really talked about what they were going through and how to. So please, I want every one of us, let's like call names, or we'll unmute our mics and speak. Which one do we want? Okay, so I want us to just tell me, okay, I want us to say this is the session that has been a lot interesting for me, that I know that I cannot forget. I'm seeing some people that I know from the very first from very first session on this call. So for example, I'm seeing Jessica, I'm seeing Funke. Which other person do I know that I have been seeing? I think Victoria too. So hello. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. So I want us to, for those of you that have been joining, Jessica, Victoria, Funke. So, I mean, just tell us one thing that you have learned so that people would know that, yes, people that are joining for the first time, they will know that, yes, they've been missing. So one thing that you have learned, anyone at all in the chat room, I'm yet to see any comment though. Am I viewing the wrong chat room? Anybody? Nobody at okay. Victoria says I enjoyed the second session more. I used the knowledge immediately and it was the best decision that I made. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much, Victoria. It is great that you were able to implement what you also learned. That's one of the things I wanted to say today, that beyond what we are just going to be learning from Miss Dede, Madam Dede, we should also look forward to how we can implement these things. Recruitment is not for the weak. So we need to learn how we can not just take notes, but also put down our next line of action. All right, thank you very much, Victoria. Any other person wants to share before we go into the topic for the day? Our speaker is very ready for us, and I hope that we have our pen and our paper, because see me, my journal is here. I'm not even kidding. See, and I have my pen here too. So a couple of things I want to put down about this recruitment, because recruitment is not the easiest thing when it comes to HR. I keep saying it. So any other person wants to share what their experience has been like so far? Jessica, okay, Funke says the first session got me glued. I'm always looking forward for the class. Thank you very much, Funke. So the first session was like our first impression, and we learned plenty things about HR that we're supposed to know. All right, thank you very much. So for those of us that are just joining for the first time, we say welcome, and we actually hope that this session is going to be very impactful for you. We hope that you're going to get something out of this session that you're able to implement in your various workplace. And we definitely hope that, of course, this would add a tremendous contribution to your HR profession. So if our hands are not too busy, and they shouldn't be, let us put a round of applause for Madam Dede as she takes the floor. So please, can I see our clapping in the chat room? Please clap for our speaker, Madam Dede, who is the head HR for Jumia Group in Ghana. I'm the only one that is clapping, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so put your hands together for Madam Dede. Thank you very much. Madam Dede, please, over to you. I will just go ahead to share.
Thank you, Ore. Good morning to those of us joining us from Ghana, and good afternoon to those in Nigeria. I'm so happy to be here. I think Ore has already introduced me, so nothing more to add. I work with Jumia Ghana as the head of HR, but I also have responsibility for training, or as we like to call it these days, learning and development for Jumia Group. So which means that I handle training or training topics for all the countries in terms of the topics that we want to roll out that has to be assessed by everybody within the Jumia Group. Okay. Right, so thanks for sharing the screen, Ore. So today, as Ore already mentioned, we'll be covering the topic guidelines on recruitment and cost per hire. And the presentation will be based on the ISO standards. And correct me if I don't say correct me if I don't say it the way it should be said, right? So ISO 30405 2016 and ISO TS 30407 2017. Okay. 1 second. Okay. So why does it matter? These ISOs are two, we've sort of condensed two into one, right? The guidelines on recruitment and the cost per hire. Okay. And why does it matter that you should be informed or educated on these two? Recruitment remains one of the most visible and expensive HR functions. A lot of people see working HR just hiring and firing, right? But we all know that there's a lot of things that happen in between, which encompasses the total employee journey with the company. Okay, so if recruitment is done right, it positions the company for long-term growth. And if it's done wrong, it can also cost the business a lot in terms of turnover, which is how quickly you're losing people, or your resignation or attrition rate. It also wastes your time, waste the time of you, the HR persons involved in the recruitment, waste the time of hiring managers or interviewers. And ultimately as well, the business does not do well when you have people who are wrong for the role, or people coming and going very quickly. So today we'll look at how these standards guides us to be both strategic HR people as well as being cost conscious, which are two things that sometimes HR people are not seen to be, right? Strategic and cost conscious. I used to work with this CEO that whenever he sees me entering his office, he's like, God, this woman is coming with some costly idea where he wouldn't see the return on investment. Okay, so we're actively trying as HR people to be strategic as well as cost conscious, right? So we'll cover the purpose of the two standards, talent attraction, how to assess candidates correctly, pre-board and onboarding, overview of the two ISOs, being recruitment and cost per hire, how to apply cost metrics in practice, tools and analytics, overview of the recruitment life cycle, how to source for candidates in a strategic way, how to communicate with them in a strategic way, how to onboard them, employ them, introduction to the key metrics again, and then we'll talk about key takeaways and then your final thoughts. Okay, so this is a brief overview of what we'll be covering today. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the purpose and scope of the two ISOs that we're covering today? ISO 30405 gives us structure in how we recruit, right? Making sure that we are doing it in a very ethical, fair, and aligned with business goals, right? Now, 3047, on the other hand, brings accountability. That's the cost per hire one. It tells us how to measure the actual cost of hiring. And if we do the two together in the way that it should be handled, it would ensure that as an HR practitioner, it would ensure that you are being a strategic partner as well as being a financially credible function. Okay, now, quick question, and I want this to be very engaging. Quick question, you can type your responses in the chat box. Think of the last hire that you made, the last person you hired for your business. Was it more about speed in terms of what you focused on? Did you focus on speed, which is how quickly you were hiring, on cost, or quality? The last hire that you made, did you focus on cost, speed, or quality? Can I see your responses in the chat box? What did you focus on in your last hire? Speed and quality. Jessica says speed and quality. Okay. Thank you, Victoria. Speed and quality. Anybody else? I'm still familiarizing myself with Zoom. Anybody else? So Oladayo, focus on speed. Jessica, focus on speed and quality. Victoria on speed and quality. Sarah says on all. Great, great, on all. Anybody else? Tolu says all. Good job. Good job. Okay. Now, which of these standards would have helped you most in that process? Now, in retrospect, when you think back, so for those of you who said you focus on speed and quality, now that you know that there's other element of cost, when you think about the three, speed, cost, or quality, which of these standards do you think would have helped you the most in the process when you look back? Do you feel that cost was also an element that you could have considered? And I think you can speak up if you want to, if you prefer to speak than type. Because we're saying that if you put all three together, and all these three are covered by the ISOs 30405 and 30407. If you put them together, it ensures that you're more strategic and performance-driven and cost-driven. Okay. Kathy, we'll move on. Next slide, Ore. Now let's look at the recruitment life cycle, which is what ISO 30405 focuses on. And I think if anybody who's working in HR for more than a year or is handling recruitment, this should not come as a surprise to you, okay? So you start by sourcing people, which is the search, right? It's either they are applying to you, right? Or you're actively going on LinkedIn or all the other tools or online tools for searching for people who are looking for work. So you do your sourcing. The sourcing could be you advertise, people apply, you look through the applications and then move some people to the point where you are assessing them. Or you do targeted search, where you are the one looking for people actively on the job market and then shortlisting them for assessments, right? So there's a sourcing bit, okay? Then you assess. Assessments can be in various forms, okay? Interviewing, right? You actively interviewing the candidate that you shortlisted for that stage in the recruitment process. Interviewing could be panel interviewing or one-on-ones. And then beyond the interviewing, you can also put them through tools to assess their skill sets, like case studies, analytical case studies that they can go through and make a presentation and so forth. So all those activities form part of your assessment of their suitability for the role that you have vacant, that you are sourcing for, right? So after you've assessed them, then you make your final selection, right? And then you employ them. Simple as that, right? Now, there's one bit about attraction I didn't mention, and that is the bit where you are actively looking for people. That's you are advertising for the role, making sure that people are aware that you are an employer that is looking for somebody to employ for a specific role before you then do your shortlisting, assess them, and then employ them, right? So typically, right, we will do an activity called requisition, which is where internally, I don't know what happens in most businesses, but best practice is that you should actually have approval for the role that you want to recruit for. So if you're doing things right within your business, there will be a business case to be made for the role to be approved for hiring. And usually the cost aspect would also come into play, where you're making a case for the fact that that role should be filled for the business. You look at the cost of that role and the value that that role will bring to the business if it's approved for hire, right? And that brings structure to your whole hiring journey, right? So attract, source, assess, and employ. And these pillars also ensure that you're streamlining the recruitment process. Everybody involved in recruiting for that role is then very clear on the processes, straight from the department that is asking for the role to be opened up, and even the hiring managers involved in the role, the approvers for the role, right? Approvers could be what? From your CEO to your head of department for that role. If you work in a multinational and you have matrix reporting lines, then you'd also have to seek approval from your group head of HR and even the group functional head, And then if you also have a regional CEO, all those key stakeholders would have to approve for that role to be tagged as ready to fill. And if you streamline that process, it ensures that everybody is consistent on how the process or hiring journey should be. Okay. And if you're also aligning the hiring journey to the business needs, and that is where the approvers come into play. If it's aligned as a need to fill role, everybody in the approval line will be aligned. They will approve straight from. Okay, so I've got a question from Jessica. Who is responsible for getting approval for hiring to start? Okay. Ultimately, HR. So I'll tell you what I do, which I feel is best practice. Okay. The department would raise or would make me aware that they need to recruit for the role. They'll need to make the business case to me that we need to fill this role. There's a reason why the vacancy has arisen. The vacancy could arise because somebody's already in a role and is leaving. And usually that makes things easier. But beware that a vacant role that is arising because somebody has resigned is not automatically approved, because sometimes somebody could leave and the agreement is that we're not replacing. We're not replacing because the business case is not made, right? We're not replacing because ultimately we're thinking that, oh, that role could be handled by other people within the business. And that sometimes happens when you are being more cost conscious and being more strategic as an HR partner for the business, right? So line managers typically would want to replace very quickly. If they don't make the right business case to their head of department, and if you're a multinational, that head of department also needs to make the business case to the group functional head. So if, for example, you want to have a warehouse manager, the chief supply chain officer should align with the head of warehouse. Then the chief supply chain officer should align with the local CEO as well as the group chief supply chain. And ultimately, if at the very top, they agree that that role is critical to fill, again, whether it's because somebody has resigned or if it's a new role that's being created, and their understanding is that it will add value to the supply chain team and ultimately the whole business, then it will be quite easy to get approval. But you as head of HR or head of talent acquisition would be the one coordinating the whole process, right? So if you align offline with everyone, and it is nice if you have what we call an ATS, which is an applicant tracking system, where approvals can be channeled through, then every stakeholder will then approve before you, HR will then say, I have the green light from all the relevant stakeholders to start sourcing for the role. So you, HR, will coordinate, right? But I always hold the hiring managers responsible for getting the right approvers. So before I push approval to your chief supply chain officer, you should align with them offline, so that then it becomes easy. You tick, you get all the people aligned on the fact that that role is going to add value. And then, yes, so line manager is hiring manager, because line manager is the person that the role reports to. So line manager, hiring manager. HR is not, it would be a local approver, but you are more of a coordinator, right? So line manager is hiring manager. Line manager will need to get approval from their boss, and their boss could be the HOD or the group functional lead, and the local CEO as well. So don't forget that. So if it's a local company, then that's easy. Line manager, head of department, CEO. If it's a multinational, then other stakeholders like the group functional lead, right? And then the group, maybe regional CEO would also need to get approval from. Okay, cool. Next slide. All right, next slide. Okay. So we'll talk about attracting talent and employer branding. Your employer brand is like your reputation in the talent market. If people know you as a great place to work, you don't have to chase candidates. They will come to you. And that reduces dependency on agencies and job ads, and that also saves costs, right? An authentic employee value proposition, as EVP, employee value proposition, makes this possible. So aside your talent acquisition and recruitment journey or hiring journey, you should be actively cultivating the right EVP, which is employee value proposition, that is also the blueprint for your employer brand. It's then about showing what sets your company apart. And companies with the right EVP, easy for you to attract the right people. Then you don't need to use recruitment agencies. You just have to advertise your job, and there's so many online portals that allow you to post jobs free. If you post, easy to get the right crop of candidates applying. Okay, so is anybody aware or familiar with the EVP, employee value proposition, and do you actively create the right brand presence and awareness for your companies? Is this a familiar term to us on this call? Is anybody familiar with EVP? And what do you do to set yourself apart as an employer of choice for the candidates out there? Does anybody want to share?
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead to speak, and if anyone has anything to say, they can maybe put the chat or maybe raise their hands. So I am aware that the EVP is usually like key components that employers or recruiters put out there that makes them more attractive in comparison with also other organizations. So an example could be saying like, oh, every day you get free lunch, or saying something like, oh, okay, it's a remote work structure, or even the compensation is also an example of what we could term as an EVP. It's also the fact that you can promise these applicants that, oh, okay, you would be able to develop your career in the long run, and just things that make it really attractive, that also helps your branding, as you have said.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Ori. And sometimes you don't have to, some companies do not position themselves to be the highest payers, right? But they would create or shout a lot about other factors of their employee journey, like as Ori mentioned, they have a hybrid work or flexi work arrangement, which is attractive to some people. Or they can say, we are a great training ground for fresh, hungry candidates. And I would say Jumia is such actively create that brand awareness. When we say e-commerce across Africa, Jumia is like the launch pad. If you want to learn how e-commerce should be like on the African landscape, they are the place to start your journey. So we have a very young workforce, and that's what we actively push. So most people think, being having a great employer brand awareness about being the highest payer of salaries. Not every candidate is attracted by that, right? Some people actually just want peace of mind. They want to be able to work from home because of personal arrangements. It works better for them, or they are at that stage in their career where they want to learn something new, which is in line with where they want to get to eventually. So they are okay with not earning such a high salary, but they want to learn. Okay, so be aware of the values of your company and what you can afford to do and what you can push outwardly, and push that. I mean, most often now, whenever there's a job advert, there would always be a blurb at the beginning where it says, this is what the company is about. Very, very clearly. This is, I don't know where you're coming from, but I'll say Jumia is this. We started the company here. we've grown rapidly like this, and that shows that we are a very dynamic company, and that we're listed on the stock exchange and so forth. If you join us, these are the things that you can expect from us. Very clearly, you're building an employer brand. And again, if you have a very strong LinkedIn presence as a company, you should be posting very regularly the things that happen within the business, right? The employee engagement activities. So are you a great believer in recognition? So do you have an employee of the month scheme, right? What do they get? How do you shout out loud about your recognition scheme? You should be posting those things actively on your LinkedIn presence. Do you believe in work hard and play hard, for example? So you have a lot of team bonding activities. Project that very hard on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and so forth, right? If you push for diversity, okay, so you recruit across tribes, you are not really into where you're coming from, it's about what you bring to the table. Make sure you're projecting that as well very strongly on your social media handles, okay? So beware of your employer brand or your EVP. State it very clearly internally. It should tie in with your culture, and the values that you've stated are important to the business, and make sure that you're projecting yourself socially out there so people are aware. So this is what your business is about. When you come into the business, this is what you should expect. If you're somebody who likes structure, maybe a startup may not be the place for you, right? So a startup will be pushing very much about how they are dynamic and they're changing, they're growing very rapidly. So any candidate who doesn't like that sort of environment, of course, will not bother to apply. But somebody who thrives in a dynamic environment would also be the one applying for roles that you advertise. So be very much aware of your EVP, advertise that strongly, and then attract the right people who know they can thrive within the environment that you are creating actively within your company. Okay, so are we clear on the EVP? Okay, thank you. So we'll move, if no questions, we'll move on to the next few slides, which is about candidate sourcing, all right? So here's the balance. It is, we recommend that you try and balance between internal sourcing and external sourcing. When we say internal sourcing, try and look from within. Advertise vacancies internally as well as externally. Now, when you actively encourage current employees to apply for roles that come up, it builds up morale and retains institutional knowledge. Because we all know somebody from within would be able to land very quickly in a new role because they know the business. They know what your values are, they know what the culture is, and they may even know already what the new role requires, right? So balance internal sourcing with external sourcing. Don't rule out external sourcing, but that also expands your reach. And sometimes, but remember that also costs more. When you're promoting from within, the budget is something you can manage more, right? Because you then only be looking at the extra cost that you need to give to the already existing employee. External hires tend to cost you more. It is a known fact, right? Because if you go for a strong candidate, they're coming from somewhere, you need to make the role attractive for them to join you. So external hires tend to cost more. So have a right balance between internal and external sourcing. Internal, remember, builds morale and retains knowledge within the business. External expands your reach, but tends to cost you more. A good HR person or talent acquisitor would have a sourcing strategy and will know when to source internally and know when it's time to invest in an external hire for when it's best for the business. Okay. So when you look, can somebody share with us one current open role that you have? Which sourcing route would you prioritize and why would you prioritize that? Can somebody share with us an external current open role they have and how are they balancing whether it should be an external source or an internal source, and why did you agree on that hiring strategy? Anybody to share? Anybody? Are you with me, guys? Anybody to share? Have you got any open roles?
Well,
And
yes,
how?
we are, but I think I want people to share their thoughts. Okay, Sarah says yes.
Okay, hi Dede and Ori. I'm going to unmute my mic and speak. So this is Jessica, and I currently have business development officers vacant, and I am using the approach of external sourcing because this role requires a lot of sales experience, marketing experience, and my workforce currently does not have that number of people. And so I go out there, publish the adverts, and then have CVs coming in and go through the process.
Okay. So you have done a quick scan and you realize that nobody internally has a
Yes.
skill set, right? And even the number of people that you have are not enough to fill the new roles that you have. Okay.
Yes.
You go in the external way. So it's a matter of speed, I would think as well, speed, and being realistic about the fact that internally you can't get anyone, right? So that's your strategy. Okay. So are you using an agency, or you are going to advertise yourself and then do the whole bit of shortlisting and then assess
I'm handling everything internally without the use of an agent.
to save costs, right?
Well, yes.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Jessica. Thank you. Sarah says you're looking for a finance officer with you doing both. Wonderful. Victoria has the role of a sales ops manager. You do an external sourcing because you don't have anyone qualified for this role. Now, how are you able to determine that you don't have the right skill set internally, Victoria? How did you determine that?
Okay, I would like to speak out. Good afternoon, everybody. How I determined. Okay, so well, we followed the job description and long-term, the business long-term goals and the quality of the candidates we need. Okay, so we need someone with this particular years of experience, or this particular years of experience, and then qualifications like let's say masters in business administration, or relating to sales. Also someone with customer experience, like someone who has experience in customer relations. So looking internally, we have someone who is at least 80% at that point, but the only thing disqualifying the person is educational background. The person is not well educated to that level, because the role will be interfacing with high profile clients, so the person is not as qualified enough for the role. And if we are saying, okay, let's train the person, it should take 2 to 3 years, and then we're losing time. So reason why we're outsourcing externally.
But then, it would always be good to then actively start grooming that person for the future, for the 2-3 years that that person needs to grow into the role, right?
Oh, yes. It's still going on. It's going on internally, but to fill up for now. So that's why we're doing next time.
The external hire eventually might also leave or move to something else. So when that
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Sorry?
I didn't get that, sir.
I was saying that because the external hire you would eventually hire at some point in the future may also move on. And at that point, you don't want still saying that, I don't have anybody internal. So which is why it's important that you look at succession planning and start grooming people internally for future roles. Yes?
Yes, I'm already on that.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So I think generally we also think that we're trying to, at every point in time, balance quality and cost while still being aware of grooming people internally. But at any point in time, we're putting the needs of the business first, right? So if we have time to grow somebody, we'll do it. If we don't, and vacancy arises very quickly, then we look externally. But even as we're looking externally, we are still being cost conscious. We are not quick to use agencies. If we are able to, we do it ourselves, so that the only cost would be the cost of advertising, and then we do everything else in-house. And that will be the mark of a strategic and cost-conscious HR partner for the business, balancing the quality and the cost. Okay, next slide, Ore. Now we'll talk about assessing. You realize we're still on the matter of the hiring journey, right? We're talking about how to assess candidates objectively. Assessment should be structured, consistent, and fair. And you, as the talent acquisition manager or HR person, should be guiding everybody else in the assessment structure, or whoever is involved in the assessment. And this would be your interviewers, your hiring managers, and anybody else who is part of the interview panel, right? And you have to lead them. You have to be consistent. You should not allow your interviewers to be asking different questions to different candidates for the same role. At the end of the day, if it's scattered, how would you then put together your assessment metrics and say we're choosing this over this person, when you've not assessed them in the same way? So whether you're doing structured interviews, tests, or simulations, make sure that it's standard, it is consistent, and the same for each candidate for the same role. And you should always be fair and objective, or ensuring that your interviewers are being fair and objective. So please ensure that you are putting in place a standardized process to remove bias and improve the quality of your hire. Removing bias is so important. And it's up to you, the HR person, to lead this and ensure that your hirers or your interviewers are being consistent. You're giving them the same questions, or you are aligning with them on the same questions and the interview flow or assessment flow for the candidates for the same role that you're looking to fill. You have to lead that process. Your managers or hiring managers, it's not their expertise. It's not their line of competency. You are leading to ensure that you all aligned on, okay, so this is the process to have for this role. We are doing panel interviews, or no, we are letting them meet hiring manager, HOD, HR, CEO. Everybody meets this person. And then they are doing this Excel test. Everybody does the Excel test, the same Excel test. Or we're asking them to analyze this case study and make presentation. A same case study for every candidate for the role. Very, very important, right? If you get it wrong and you hire wrong, it will cost you money. It will cost you replacing very quickly because the person will leave. They are not the best fit for the role. It will lower your turnover rate, and it would ensure that if you have the good quality of hire, it would ensure that productivity from that person would be realized much faster. So remember, the onus is on you as an HR person to ensure consistently that people are using the same standard process for hiring or assessing the different candidates for the same role. Are we clear on this? It will save you money in the long run. Any questions on this? Okay. Next, we are talking about the next stage, which is when you want to make an offer. It is so important that you communicate very clearly, even how you communicate to the candidates along the hiring journey. It's also a mark or a show of your employer brand. Even the English, how politely you're emailing them, giving them enough notice for interviews. You don't want to be calling people a day before interview, say, oh, we've shared an interview for you tomorrow at 8 p.m. You don't do that, right? Be very much aware of how you are perceived by candidates along the line. I've had people drop in when I used to do consultancy, recruitment. I've had people after first interview with a client say, I don't want to be interviewed any further. I didn't like the way the interview went. I didn't like how the interview times were communicated to me and so forth. And I don't have any confidence that there will be a professional organization, right? And remember, when you have very top candidates, they are being sought after by other companies. So you need to project yourself as a right employer to them. Okay, some of them may even be juggling multiple offers from different companies. So when you make a job offer, make sure that be very clear. You're not hiding anything that you review later after they join you. Make sure that your job offers are very clear and timely and keeps them engaged, right? And don't forget, when you reject people, communicate to them timely that you're rejecting them for A, B, C, D reasons. And your rejection communication should also lead with empathy. Because don't forget, somebody that you reject today could be right for a role later, or there could even be a potential customer for the business. So being respectful and empathetic in your communication, be it a rejection communication or a job offer, really builds up how professional your company is to outsiders. Candidates today could be candidates for the future, or even customers for the service offering that your company gives out. Okay. Has anybody lost a candidate because the offer process dragged on? Because sometimes we can be very slow as HR people. While we are trying to get the right approvals within the system, things can take a long time and you may lose the interest of candidates. Has anybody disengaged from you because of how long it took? Have you experienced that ever? Is it something that any of you has experienced, where a candidate that you really wanted to make an offer to got disengaged with the process because you took too long? You took too long getting the right approvals within the system. A lot of company politics can result in HR seeming to be slow. But if you build your right credibility, yes, Jessica, if you build the right credibility as an HR person within the business, you should be able to engage your approvers very quickly so that you can communicate. Don't be a passive HR person. So remember, if you got the right approvers before you started recruitment, even the cost or budget for the role is already set. So that when it's time to make an offer and the offer is within range of the budget approved, then you're fast. You can quickly send off your offer. And if you are structured in terms of the benefits that come with your role, then it makes things very easy to get approval to send offers. It's not now, because if you're scattered and disorganized, then you are now saying, oh, so for this role, I'm using a Ghanaian term. For this role, what benefits comes to the role? You're now trying to get approval. Don't work like that. Have in place a very structured salary grid for every role, for every level of grade in the system, and the associate benefits that comes to the role. Makes it easier when you're recruiting, easy to then get approvals for others. So this is the candidate you want. You quickly communicating the offer to them. If it ends up being a back and forth because they want more money, you have your budget range, so you know how far you can push to. So let's be very timely and quick during the hiring journey. Quick to confirm shortlisted interviews, quick to confirm interview date, quick to confirm if you're doing a quiz or a test, quick to reject as well. If you know you don't want the person, tell them very quickly in a very respectful way that, I'm sorry for you, the journey ends with us in the assessment process. We wish you well. Why did you end for them? Oh, we have other candidates who we find are more suitable or a better fit for the role. Please don't let this stop you from applying for future roles that come up. Thank you, on all the best. Very respectful, very clear, not ambiguous. If you want the person, you shoot them an offer email. It's you that we want. These are the details of the offer that we can make. Let us know very quickly if it's in line with what you also want from us. Give them a deadline, the communication, so they can come back to you very quickly. Follow up if you don't hear from them. Give them a call if you don't hear from them. Show that you're interested in them. You're interested in, bringing them on board, right? If it's something that you can't do in terms of what they are asking for, also ensure you are communicating very clearly. We're sure this is above our budget. We wish you well. You move on. You continue with the search, right? And as you're doing all of this, make sure that it is compliant to how things should be done within your business. So your offer, what you're offering, should be what? Above minimum wage for your country, for example, right? The leave days that you're offering is above the minimum expectation for your country when it comes to the local labor laws, for example. So ensure that you are being compliant with the labor law. Don't go and do any foolish things which fall outside of the remit of what your labor laws requires of the country you're operating in. Okay, any questions? Okay, so you've made an offer, they have accepted. The first few weeks for the business will tell a lot about whether the person lands softly and stays with you, about whether you even want to then confirm them post probation. The first few weeks are when it's like a, marriage, right? How you project yourself as a husband or as a spouse within after the honeymoon stage. Okay, so onboarding is so important. And then there's something we call pre-boarding. I don't know whether any of you is aware of pre-boarding. Pre comes before the normal onboarding. It is so important. So pre-boarding is also something you should make sure you do well. Pre-boarding, things like getting laptops. So HR, this is your job to ensure that you made an offer, has been accepted. These are their working tools. Apply for the working tools in good time. Don't wait when they come before you're now telling tech or IT that, oh, I need a laptop for this new hire, or I need a phone for this new hire. Request for them in good time so that on their first day, everything is ready for them to start work. And they're not hanging around without any working tools. So pre-boarding covers things like getting the laptops, getting their working tools as well, like phones, tablets, and so forth, getting their logins ready, okay? Logging into your email system, logging into all the systems that they would need to work for the role that they are in, right? Get their schedules ready, schedules being the onboarding schedule. So put everything together so that their onboarding will start seamlessly from their first day. And when you do this correctly, it makes candidates feel valued, right? The value, your EVP starts from there. You are your onboarding right. Somebody speaking.
You completed.
Okay, maybe somebody needs to mute themselves. Is there a question or a comment? Okay.
I think it was an error. I already muted the person. Please go on.
Okay, thank you, Ore. Okay. And if you get the onboarding right, it's still part of your EVP. You should be known as a company that is structured in how you pre-board and onboard people. The pre-boarding is what you do as HR, and it's your job to inform the right people within the business that this is a new hire coming on board on this date. These are the things I need, working tools, access to the right systems within the business, so that when they start, everything is ready and it speeds up their onboarding when they eventually start, right? And helps them to be more productive in the most minimum amount of time. And they don't come and they're all over the place unsure of what they have to do. So pre-boarding is very important, okay? Okay, all right. Now, onboarding, how would you structure it? Most businesses will have the way they want it to look like, right? So somebody onboarding for some business will mean that they need to just focus on their department, or it would mean that they need to interface with other departments. They'll need to spend time with HODs to learn about, to just get an overview of each department. It's quite helpful so that if they come in, they have a view of the ecosystem, how the whole team works, where each team's work starts and finishes, and when another team also picks up and then ensure that the ball rolls very seamlessly within the business. Next slide, we're going to talk about recruitment metrics. If you are working strategically and being cost efficient, you should know how to measure your efficiency in your recruitment. If you don't measure your recruitment process, you cannot improve. If you don't know where you're dropping the ball, you don't know where to improve. So metrics like time to fill and cost per hire show your efficiency as an HR partner for the business. And quality of hire and retention shows effectiveness. Remember, time to fill and cost per hire show efficiency. And quality of hire and retention shows effectiveness. Okay, now being aware of your metrics would ensure that you will then transition from being just an administrative function into being a data-driven business partner. Data-driven business partner. So if you are the type who is sharing periodic reports, periodic could be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and so forth, and you are showing these metrics to the receiver of your reports, they would then see you as a data-driven business partner. And then your metrics should also show improvement year on year, month on month, and so forth. Don't just share for the sake of sharing. Share and show improvement as you share, okay? Remember, we're trying to move ourselves from just being admin people to being data-driven business partners, okay? Now, efficiency, time to fill. Very simple. It helps you measure the speed and cost efficiency of your process. Remember, we talk about speed, quality, and cost earlier, right? Now, the hiring quality or candidate quality would focus on how successful HR is, which is ensuring that you're getting the best fits for all roles. And your retention and internal mobility will show the long-term business outcomes of every recruitment decision you take now. Long-term, how people are able to scale up very quickly in their roles, how quickly people settle into their roles, your lower attrition levels, people are not resigning. Your turnover rate then becomes lower, if not almost zero. Okay. Now, next slide, please. Now, ISO TS 3407 and cost per hire. This standard provides clarity and consistency in calculating recruitment expenses. Remember, ISO is all about what? Standardization and consistency. So the ISO TS 30407 is the one that ensures that there's consistency and standardization in calculating recruitment expenses, right? And if you get that right and you're on top of it, it also gives you financial credibility, okay? Now, it also ensures that your cost data is measured constantly across all roles. So you're using the same measure regardless of the role, regardless of the department, and even if you have some companies are multinationals or are conglomerates, so they have different companies in one group of companies. You should be using the same standard of measuring the cost per hire across the group, regardless of the role or the department. And when you do that, when in finance, as they usually do, they come and say, why is this hire so expensive? You are then ready with your numbers to answer those questions with confidence. You know there's no bias, you know you've been consistent, you've been standardized in how you're measuring your cost per hire, right? So when you get those questions from finance who are just more about the numbers, you can then answer those questions with confidence. Now we talk about CPHRI, which is the cost per hire internal. Now, this is, as internal says, is a formula tailored for measuring for internal purposes only, right? And it reflects a comprehensive view of all hiring costs within the company. You're not doing any external benchmarking. That is the other one that we speak about. And it's just meant for internal consumption. It does not compare externally, not meant for external comparison. So that's the CPHI, cost per hire internal. Okay. Now CPHC, which is cost per hire comparable, looks at your cost per hire internally compared to, okay, already there's a question for you in the chat. So CPHC uses a standard subset of data by comparing yourself as an organization with other companies within the same industry, comparable companies, to ensure that you're comparing, you're more accurate. So obviously, if you're a telco, you should be comparing yourself with other telcos and not maybe energy businesses. That will not be a reasonable accuracy when you're doing such comparisons. So as you compare yourself against other companies, make sure that they are in the businesses which are comparable to you. Okay, so CPHC is cost per hire comparable. CPHI is cost per hire internal. And now we have what we call HCI, hire cost ratio. The hire cost ratio compares total hiring costs to the first year compensation of the new hires. Total hiring costs to the first year compensation of the new hire. Now, this is different from CPHI and CPHC because you're using the compensation, which is what? The salary and benefits as a denominator. Yes, it's being recorded, so I'm sure we'll share the recording. Okay, all right. Okay, because remember, cost per hire is comparing the cost of the hire divided by the number of persons, right? But the hire cost ratio compares the cost of hire divided by the compensation of the roles. Okay, so that's the difference between these three. Are we clear? Okay, so in practice, we will say use CPHI, which is the internal one, for internal audits and cost control. Now, this enables you to identify which roles or channels are consuming the most resources. The CPHC, as we mentioned earlier, enables you to benchmark or compare yourself against industry norms. And this also becomes very valuable if you're undertaking a salary benchmarking survey to understand how you compare to others, right? Especially when you are getting feedback that your salary levels are not great and you're not getting the right people when you're trying to hire externally, or internally people are complaining that, Charlie, as Ghanaians will say, your salaries are not great. We're leaving because we're being offered more by other companies, or we're staying but we are suffering. So you as the HR person will then need to put together a salary benchmarking survey as your source data or supporting documentation when you are trying to make a proposal for a salary review across the business, or maybe just across a certain demographic within the business or a certain department within the business. So that's where your CPHC comes into play. The HCR demonstrates your ROI, which is a return on investment, right, to finance and leadership teams. So when you're getting the question about how much, why it's so expensive? Why is this new hire, or for the past 6 months, your hiring, your staff cost has gone so high because your hiring cost has gone high. That's when you use HCR to justify the investments in certain key roles within the business. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, next slide. Now we'll look at cost categories and data management. Okay. Recruitment costs are not just agency fees and job ads. Sometimes we make that mistake and think that when we're looking at recruitment costs, just how much you've had to pay an agency to manage a recruitment for you, or how much it costs you to advertise on LinkedIn or on Jobberman and so forth. It's not just about that, right? You also have to include costs like your time. Put a value on admin time, right? You as an internal recruiter within the business, your salary. So if you have a dedicated talent acquisition officer, that person's salary also becomes part of recruitment costs because they are there because of recruitment. But maybe if you have an admin person who is doubling up doing recruitment as well as other duties, then you have to put a value on the number of hours they spend on recruitment. And the cost of onboarding, the cost of the new hires working tools, for example, the access to systems, because usually these system comes with a per person charge for access, right? All those elements come into hiring costs or recruitment costs, not just agency fees or the cost of placing job adverts. So don't forget that. But it would also be good to segment your costs per role, per department, per region, per channel. It's all about how you're presenting your reports on costs to aid the right decision-making by the leaders within the business, okay, or even just for yourself. It may be sometimes if you look at the high cost of recruitment, that could make you decide that, okay, maybe I need to scale back on using agencies. And maybe I need to look internally. I need to push more for internal candidates or push more for current employees to recommend people. And I use that a lot within where I work now, because I know that my culture is very unique. So it takes somebody who is already an employee to understand the sort of mindset or individuals who thrive within the business. So I place a lot of worth on internal referrals, and I have a reward system when employees refer people who are eventually hired. So at the moment, I don't use agencies. The last time I used an agency was 2021. And that was a role that was hard to fill. I post on LinkedIn. I have an internal, ATS I mentioned earlier, an applicant tracking system. So if you see any job adverts on LinkedIn for Jumia across the group, the link will send you straight to our what we call Greenhouse. And Greenhouse is a tool that you can buy off the shelf and tailor it to suit your business. So you send it straight to Greenhouse and you push through your application, and then my team and I will do the shortlisting through that, and we even then arrange interviews through the same system and so forth. So I don't use agencies. And then I actively push recommendations from current employees, and when they get their candidate hired, they get a free voucher to use on Jumia portals. I don't use agencies because they can be very expensive, and they don't bring me much value. They don't do anything different from what I can do myself for the business. So when you are able to calculate your recruitment costs very well, and you know the various drivers for any increases, it then helps you to make the right decisions going forward. So you are at any point in time, you are given the right value for the business. Victoria, what's your question? Okay, you can drop your question in the chat box when you're ready. We will, okay, you type, okay, carry on. I'll come to you when you finish typing. Okay. All right, so our next slide is on recruitment tools and analytics. And I think I've already touched on that a bit. Sourcing tools, job boards, there's so many free job boards out there. Some too you have to pay for. With time, you know what works for you as a business, right? If you're a tech business, there are dedicated job boards for tech. I use LinkedIn a lot. I find that it gets me the right people. based on how widely I also push my EVP on LinkedIn, right? So Jumia across the group, we actively share all employee updates on LinkedIn so people know actively what we're about and what's important to us. And our job adverts on LinkedIn are very, very comprehensive. And we've been able to link our internal applicant tracking system to LinkedIn. So when they apply, it takes them straight to our internal system and they push the application there, right? So I'm not waiting for people to come to only the Jumia internal job board. I'm using LinkedIn as well. And it helps me to expand my reach or scope. Okay. Now the workflow tools there is what I already mentioned. ATS is applicant tracking system. I am familiar with two, People HR and then Greenhouse. And I will recommend Greenhouse to anyone. It is so comprehensive and it stores applicants' information. You can use Greenhouse for even your approval system. You know, I mentioned earlier, when the right people or stakeholders have to approve, they can do it through Greenhouse. So you raise your hiring request through Greenhouse, people approve, you get notifications when your final approval has been given, you push in your job adverts, it then goes through to your job boards and LinkedIn. People see it when they apply, application comes through Greenhouse or any ATS of the choice, and then you manage them through the ATS, and then you can even make offers through the ATS. It is such a powerful tool. It makes you more efficient, right? Makes you more efficient. It also stores historical data that you can refer to. It's not free. It's not free, but let me share the link to their website. Based on the number of people or the size of your business, you can easily ask for a quote. And they will help you. Hold on. I want to share the link. Okay, I'm sharing the link, their website. Reach out to them. Sometimes, listen, they're all here to make money, right? So if you make a great case for the size of your business and how many Aura, can you go back? Victoria is asking us to go back. So Victoria, which slide do you want us to go back to? This one?
I think it's better if she speaks so that we can effectively manage the time. So to the former slides, what slide? Victoria?
Okay, so I see you. Don't worry, after we are kind of running, we're out of time. So don't worry, I will share real life calculations as you've asked for, okay? For the real cost per hire, I'll share examples through OnRare for you to play your hands at. Is that okay? All right. Can we move on to the next slide, Oren? Okay, so final thoughts. Don't worry, I'll share with you real life examples in Excel. That'll be helpful. So you can just plug in your own figures and it will then give you the results. I think that'll be helpful. Okay. So final thoughts. We've already said ISO standards builds trust and consistency in recruitment. It allows you to align your operations with strategic and financial goals. It also helps you to be smarter. Listen, we're saying work smart and not work hard these days, okay? So if you've standardized your processes and that is clearly communicated to all stakeholders, yes, we'll do that. To all stakeholders that this is how we do recruitment in this business, and it's simple. So you don't have to reinvent the wheels or think about new things every time you have a new role to hire for. Everything's standardized. If you're using an ATS like Greenhouse, it's super helpful as well. Okay, and using metrics. Remember, it's all about data these days. Data. Back everything with data. Every decision you make should be backed with data. your leadership team would appreciate that more and see you more as a cost-conscious strategic partner. And when you standardize your process, it makes sure that your candidate experience are improved much better, and it also enhances your employee success as new joiners within the business. Okay, and if you get the certification for these ISO standards, it also signals that you're a professional and you know what are the standards in HR in the world at present. Any questions or final thoughts? Any final thoughts or questions? What a new idea have you learned today from today's session? You can type that in the chat box.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam Dede. Please, as she said, first of all, please let's give a round of applause for Madam Dede. This is one of the most insightful sessions that we have had. As usual, it looks like it just keeps getting better week after week. So please give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Sarah said it is so insightful and I couldn't agree more. Okay, so thank you so much, Madam Dede. It was great having you, and I mean, it was mind-blowing. We have learned a couple of things, actually more than just a couple of things, and we are grateful that we are able to have you on the call. So once again, I'm still expecting us. Okay, thank you. I think we have okay, Imo says that a fair recruitment can either keep or pursue the new hire. I'm not sure if that's a question, Imo. Please just maybe re-ask if it's a question. I just see that a fair recruitment can either keep or pursue. Okay, I think that's what he learned, I suppose. So thank you once again. Thank you so much. Josephine says, thank you so much. I am very grateful. Even me personally, I am very grateful. So thank you very much, Madam Dede. We'll definitely be reaching out to you for some of those documents and personal experiences you said you'd be sharing. I'm sure that we cannot wait to have our hands on it. So for everyone, Isaac says powerful. Thank you very much, Isaac. So for everyone, please, so that we can have access to these documents when Madam Dede sends it, I would advise that we click on the registration link. Once you're able to fill out your feedback, there's a WhatsApp link that is attached to that particular form. Please join the WhatsApp link. The slides are going to be shared on there. And also, we are going to, I shared a certificate. I don't know if, please just click on the attendance link. You'll be able to join the community. So I shared a certificate. I don't know if we saw it. So there's going to be a certificate. There was a very fine certificate that I put on here. I'm just going to put it here again. So once you're able to take a very short assessment, you get certified. It's a certificate of proficiency that shows that you have an idea when it comes to ISO 405, you have an idea of ISO 407. And if you joined the past sessions and you also fill the forms, you're also going to be getting the assessment forms for those past sessions. So this is why it is important to fill your form so that we are going to be able to reach out to you via email to send. But if this is your first time, no problem. So you'll be able to take the assessment and get certified for this standard. So like the CEO said from the first session, all things being equal, some of you might be leaving here with about 10, 11 certificates that says that with regards to these different standards, you are proficient at them, depending on the sessions that you join, of course. So let us please click on the link and of course fill it, and you'll see the community group chat link also there. So once again, I want to say thank you very much, Madam Dede. It was lovely having you. I already knew that when we're inviting the HR of Jumia Group, we're inviting a powerhouse, and of course we did not get anything less than that. So thank you so much. We are very grateful. Please, if you don't mind, you can just put your LinkedIn name or your LinkedIn, the link to your LinkedIn page so that we can actually reach out to you personally. I'm sure some people here would want to reach out to you. The certificate is free, please. It is free because the webinar is free. Once you are done with your assessment and you meet up with the score, you definitely would, it's going to automatically give you the certificate that you can download. So please, Madam Dede, please put your LinkedIn, yes, so that we can reach out to you. Anyone that wants to reach out to her, please do that once again. And lastly, I'd like to apologize for taking so much of our time today. I want to say it was worth it, but I also want to apologize because time management is one of the key things that we like to promote here at A Voice. So thank you very much for staying on to this particular moment. Madam Dede, are you putting it on, or should I help you out with that? I can't hear you, you're muted. Hi, Isaac. All right, that's fine.
1 second, yes, 1 second.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. No problem, Isaac. If you have been filling the forms, we have your data on the back end and we'll be able to reach out to you. Okay, so she has put our LinkedIn post, the link to our LinkedIn page, our LinkedIn profile. Please go on there. Please follow her. Please, if you want to have questions or ask questions, please just get into her DM and say that you are from this webinar, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to engage with you. Thank you again once again, everybody. Thank you again for staying with us to this particular moment. Like people will say, you are the real MVPs. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to our wonderful speaker, Madam Dede. Thank you to the organizers of this beautiful event. So next week, we will be having the next session, which is also going to be a continuation. So today we started with cost per hire. We're going to be looking at the metrics of quality per hire. How do you measure the quality of your hire? How do you measure the impacts that your hire is bringing? How exactly do you do this? Because like I said, this webinar is moving you from just the HR personnel management to a strategic HR. So we're going to be dealing with key metrics that are really important. So join us same time, 12 to 1 next week, Wednesday. And of course, we'll be introducing our speaker before then. Thank you, everyone. To enjoy the rest of your day. Someone says you're a gem. I thought, okay, she said thank you. I mean, give her flowers. She deserves it. Thank you very much, Madam Dede. Let us enjoy the rest of our week. Thank you, everyone.